quote none! You don't quote none!
What's going on, Tar Heel Nation? It is your favorite North Carolinian, Russ, the Tar Heel, and I'm just going to make sure that everything is looking good real quick as we allow some of you guys to jump in here. All right, everything looks straight, man. So, got a interesting show today, man. Interesting show today. We're going to talk about the UNC quarterback competition. And we are also going to briefly talk about the coaching staff and player development. And I'm kind of excited about this one, man, because I know that this is a hot topic. And I'm pretty sure that I'm going to say some things that a lot of people want to say, but maybe they're too afraid to say it, man. So we're also going to try to do a call-in show portion of this. I don't know how this is going to work, bro. This is completely like last second, trying to get this thing to stinking work. So we will see if we can make that happen. I don't know, man. Like I said, I'm just thinking winging it on the call-in portion. But before we get into the call-in portion, and I make a complete fool of myself, let's go ahead and do some opening thoughts on the quarterback competition. Now, it's been stated here recently that Minnesota has basically said that they're not going to release their depth chart. So Carolina said, okay, bet we're not going to release our depth chart either. So all of Tar Heel Nation that was getting real stinking excited about, hearing who the starting quarterback was going to be, you're not going to get that until apparently the first snap of this season. So I know there's people on the Connor train. I know that there's people on the Max train. And it looks like we're going to be stuck in limbo land until, 8 p.m. on Thursday night, August 29th. So let's talk about this thinking quarterback controversy, right? It's not necessarily a controversy per se right now, but let's talk about the quarterback competition as we're 11 days from the start of the season. Jamil says Max didn't transfer from the SEC to not start. Experience is everything. I hear you, Jamil. I hear you, bro. So let's talk about it real quick, okay? Quarterback competition, right? How exciting is that? Stinking quarterback competition. Well, let's talk about it from this perspective. Max Johnson, and we'll talk about both of these quarterbacks, right? Max Johnson is a 6'5", 225-pound former four-star composite, was a 90.9091 grade, okay, 247 composite grade, the number 256 ranked player in the country at his position the year that he came out. Now, Max Johnson has appeared in 30 games, 30 total games at LSU and Texas A&M, which are both in the SEC West, which in the SEC West, we're talking about 4 of the last 10 national champions. Bama in 15, Bama in 17, LSU in 2019, and Bama in 2020. Now, Max Johnson has started 22 games, okay? And in those 22 games, he's completed 474 passes for 784 attempts for a completion percentage of 60.5%. Good for over 5,800 yards and 47 touchdowns. And most people know, if I'm not mistaken, I think he's got maybe 11 or 12 INTs in the 5 years that he's played college football. 4 years, excuse me. Now, he started all 12 games as a sophomore, finishing with 2,814 yards passing, 27 touchdown passes, okay? Now, this is just for comparison's sake. I'm not trying to equate the two, but for comparison's sake, Drake May last year did throw for 3,600 yards, which is basically 800 more than what Max Johnson threw for in 2021. But Drake May had 24 touchdown passes and 9 INTs. So technically speaking, right, when we take the sum of this thing, the whole of it, Max Johnson had 3 more touchdown passes his sophomore year at LSU in the SEC West than Drake May had in the ACC. That's just for comparison perspective. You take with that what you will, Tar Heel Nation. Now, last year, he appeared in 8 games before being injured, and he threw for 1,452 yards, 9 touchdowns, and 5 INTs. This is kind of what he did last year. Last year, he went 31 for 42 for 305 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception against the number 10 Ole Miss. Okay. He was 20 for 30 for 249, a touchdown and no picks, and a 30-17 win against South Carolina. He did struggle at Tennessee. He went 16 for 34, 223 yards, no touchdowns, and 2 picks. Okay. He went 14 for 25, 239 with a touchdown and a pick, and a 26-20 loss against number 11 Alabama. He was 17 for 28, 210 yards, 2 touchdowns and an interception, and a 34-22 win against Arkansas. In 2022, which was an injury-shortened year, he was 10 for 20, 140 yards, and 1 touchdown against number 13 Miami, beating them 17-9. Those are not ridiculous numbers. He went 11 for 21, 151 yards, a touchdown and no picks, and a 23-21 win against number 10 Arkansas. Once again, not earth-shattering numbers, okay? He went 2 for 5, 2 wins, 5 losses against ranked SEC teams last year, in which his total stats in those games were 113 for 202 attempts, only a 56% completion percentage, for 1,331 yards, which is an average of 222 yards per game, okay? And that doesn't include a 3 for 6 mark that he had against Arkansas because of injury. 10 touchdowns, 3 interceptions in those 6 games, which is a 3-to-1 touchdown interception ratio. Now, once again, Max Johnson, okay, is not going to light the world on fire. I want to be very clear with that. He's not, that's not what we're insinuating. That's not what I'm insinuating is going to transpire with Max, okay? We're just breaking down what these guys have done, okay? And then we'll make a decision, maybe divided, maybe we're on the same page. We'll make a decision after that about who the starting quarterback for North Carolina should be, okay? Now, Connor Harrell, on the other hand, is 6'2", 210-pound, former 3-star, composite rating of 0.8685, the number 796 ranked player in his class, okay, according to the 247 composite. He's a sophomore who appeared in 4 games for North Carolina last year, okay? This was Connor Harrell's line. He was 0 for 2 in a blowout win against Syracuse. He was 4 for 4 for 71 yards and a tutty against Campbell. Everybody remembers he had that beautiful deep ball to Chris Culliver and like basically the back of the end zone, just stinking dropped it in a bucket. He did not complete a pass. He did not attempt to pass against NC State, and he finished with -7 rushing yards. And then he obviously got the start in the bowl game, 18 for 27, 199 yards, 1 touchdown, and 2 interceptions against West Virginia in that 30-10 bowl loss. Now, Connor, because he hasn't had a ton of college experience, let's talk about his high school experience. He's a 2-time Alabama State champion. He completed 371 passes out of 515 attempts for 6,100 yards and 81 touchdowns to only 6 interceptions in his last 2 years of high school. Now, you know, those are obviously gaudy numbers. Those are ridiculous numbers. But once again, we're talking about high school football, okay? He was also named the Alabama Gatorade Player of the Year. So the kid has some stinking pedigree, all right? He has some stinking pedigree. Nobody's disputing that. So the question is after the Carolina Blue Child, which is Drake May, and that's what I'm saying UNC's version of the Golden Child is, who is best equipped from day one to lead this North Carolina offense? Well, I have a couple of factors here. All right. And we can agree to disagree. That's why we're talking about it right now. Number one, size matters. Okay. Hear me out. Hear me out, Tar Heel Nation. Max Johnson is every bit of 6'4", 6'5". He's a tall guy who can stand in the pocket. Now, why does this matter? Okay. Well, multiple sources have stated that there are serious question marks to the validity of Connor being a legitimate 6'2". Some that go to all the practices and everything, I've literally heard them say that he's much closer to 6 foot. Now, Carolina's projected starting offensive line, Howard Sampson, 6'8". It's kind of a question mark right now who's going to be a left guard. We'll just say hypothetically, the true freshman Aiden Banfield ends up sneaking into that starting position, 6'3". Blasky, 6'5". Willie Lampkin is the outlier. He's 5'11". Trevion Green, who's on that right tackle spot, he's 6'8". Now, this is going to sound extreme, but once again, stay with me here, okay? Stay with me. In high school, yours truly played a little bit of quarterback, right? I played quarterback for a pretty good, substantial amount of my career. Now, I ran the option in high school, but obviously, occasionally you're going to drop back and pass. Now, my offensive line, from what I can recall, averaged about 6 foot to 6'2" across the front, okay? Now, why does that matter? Because Russ the Tar Heel is a stout 5'7", okay? 5'7", bro. That's a 5 to 7 inch height difference. And I can tell you from personal experience, anecdotal evidence, that seeing the middle of the field behind bigger guys like that is extremely tough. So me personally, most of my numbers came outside of the numbers, right? It was to the sideline because I can't see over these big stinking linemen in front of me. Well, big compared to me. Now, I'm not comparing my skill level to Connor, okay? That's not what I'm saying. This is anecdotal evidence, so I'm just telling you that I know from personal experience how difficult it is to hit somebody over the middle when you're a smaller guy than everybody's thinking around you, okay? Not at all comparing myself to Connor Harrell. He's a great athlete, okay? But I'm just trying to paint a picture for you how size, it plays a factor. There's a reason why so many quarterbacks are taller stature guys, okay? Number two, okay, if the size thing doesn't sway you. Number two, Tar Heel Nation, experience matters, all right? 23-year-old with 4 years of SEC West football experience and moderate success, 47 total touchdowns, compared to 4 games at the collegiate level with 2 touchdowns. Now, let me posit this to you, okay? If you were a business owner and you were going to hire a guy off the street to manage your business, this is your livelihood, right? This is your business. And you had 2 guys apply for the job. The first guy, he's a great guy. Humble kid, extremely intelligent, respectful, great shape. The kid comes from a good family. But the only actual experience he has with running a business is a couple months that, he was in a college internship. You know what I mean? How quickly would you offer him the position when the second guy comes in for an interview and he has a portfolio showing, 4 years of, kind of, I guess, holding his own, if you will. All right. He's not saying he's, turning this business into a multi-million dollar. That's not what I'm saying, but he's got a proven track record of at least having some success. But he's got experience, right? He's got experience, right? He's got experience running large companies, a la LSU and Texas A&M. Those are pretty large companies for this idea that I'm positing here, okay? Remember, this is your livelihood, right? You got to make this thinking work. And your customer base is already frustrated with poor performances to the point where they're already starting to leave you bad Google reviews, okay? They're in large part no longer excited because the product has not been quite up to promise. And some of you may. Some of you may. Okay. This is the question that I'm asking with those two guys that are applying for this position. Are you going to take that chance? Maybe. And it could be a complete success. You might stink and hire that kid straight out of college, right? And I mean, this kid, he has no history whatsoever. He's got no experience, and he might stinking just run your stinking business, through the roof. Or it's possible that he could run it into the ground. And then you're asking yourself, why had this guy that was like, he was tested. We'll say he was tested. He's proven, right? I think that's an interesting aspect, man. I think it's an interesting aspect to think about, right? Maybe you understand that the staff around you is pretty damn good. And you don't need someone right now to do anything special, right? You just need him to do his job, get people in the right position, and be successful, and let your employees think and work and shine. Now, I'm just telling you what Russ the Tar Heel would do, okay? As much as I might like this one guy, okay, we're talking about my livelihood here. And I personally am going to go with a guy that's experienced, battle tested, okay? It gives me the warm and fuzzies knowing that this guy has been there and done that. I don't have to watch over his shoulders. He knows exactly what needs to be done. He just needs to manage my business, bro, and let the employees shine around him. So that's my 2 cents on the quarterback situation. You guys know exactly where I stand on that one. I just want to stink and win. And I am personally of the perception that North Carolina has the talent at the other positions that if you can get a guy in there to just manage things, Carolina, with the schedule at hand, could win a ton of football games this year. That's just what I think about it, man. And so, if you didn't understand all the ridiculousness that I just put down, I personally am of the opinion that Max Johnson is the guy that you roll out there week 1 under the lights at Minnesota, because he's been there, done that. He's experienced. The kid's 23 years old. He's played in the SEC West. And I think that experience matters for something. Size matters. Experience would even matter more, in my personal opinion. So, like I said, this is the first time we're going to do this, man. I don't even know if this is stinking going to work. As you can see down on the bottom, man, there's a call-in number, okay? 919-590-3514. If you want to call in, try it. See if it'll work. We'll see if we even get, your call in. But I'm really interested in what Tar Heel Nation thinks on this one, man, because I know that there's a lot of dissent when it comes to this topic. Who should be the starting quarterback in week 1 for the North Carolina Tar Heels? A lot of people, they want to take that shot, man. They really do. They are perfect Can you guys hear me now? I'm sure you can hear me now, man. For some reason, my mute button was on. I apologize. Make sure you can hear me. Can you guys hear me now? Okay. All right. There we go. My bad, guys. I'm a stinking novice. So anyway, try the call-in show number 919-590-3514. While we're potentially waiting for the next call, man, I'm just going to get into the next stinking topic. So if you're nervous, don't be. I'm already nervous enough for the both of us, all right? So this is the first time that I've attempted to do this. So give me a stinking call, man. Anyway, let's move over to the elephant in the room and talk about coaching and player development. Now, I remember the mixed emotions I had when it was announced that Mac Brown was returning to North Carolina, okay? Underachievement in 2016 with Mitch, followed by a 2017 and 2018 that were absolutely painful to watch as Carolina won 5 stinking games in 2 years, man. I mean, I remember just thinking to myself, dude, I just wanted to bury my head in the stinking ground, man. Just bury my head in the ground. It was getting so bad. Mac comes back. And he starts talking about finishing what he left off when he bolted for Texas back in 1996, right? Now, those of us who are old enough to remember what we had back in, 95, 96, 97, dude. What's up, Dennis? Think about where Carolina could possibly have been if Mac didn't leave for Texas. And a lot of people were super salty about that. I was salty, right? Especially seeing him have success in Texas. A lot of North Carolina fans say, hey, we could have had that here, bro. Like, you had something going, man. So UNC's on the cusp of turning the corner, bro, in a lot of people's eyes, right? If we could have just fielded a decent offense to be coupled with that defense, who knows where we'd be talking about Carolina football right now. Now, Mac Brown was 69, 46, and 1 in his first stint at Carolina. It's good for a 599 win percentage, okay? He's 38 and 27, 584 winning percentage in MAC 2.0 with a Coastal Division title, no ACC titles, and obviously no national championships. He's just got that one in 2005 with Texas. And Mac Brown is 1-4 in bowl games. Now, in 2019, Carolina went from 5 wins in 2 years to 7-6, right? A win against South Carolina and Charlotte that nobody gave us a shot at with a stinking true freshman quarterback. Then we follow that up with just the most electric atmosphere in Kenan Stadium that I had ever been a part of when Carolina beats Miami. Daz Newsome catches that stinking dot from Sammy in the back of the end zone. And then Carolina follows that up by getting a winning season and beating Temple in the bowl game. Military Bowl champs, baby. We're here, right? Carolina is stinking back. We're coming. Then you follow that up with an 8-win campaign. You sneak into the Orange Bowl. And yes, I said sneak in. 8-win team, talented team. But you go to the Orange Bowl, right? And you almost upset the number 4 Texas A&M Aggies while we're basically missing so many of our offensive parts that got us in that position in the first place, right? And then obviously you got the rise of Josh Downs and guys of that nature, right? Then you start the next season, number 10 in the country. And we watched the wheels fall off from the jump after believing all the stinking hype. Not just from the fan-initiated hype, bro. I'm talking about all the stinking hype that the coaching staff put in our stinking ears about how we were starting to catch up with the talent, right? Maybe there's some discrepancies as far as the 2 deep is concerned, but as far as that starting lineup, bro, we are starting to look like the Carolina team that we want to look like, right? So we're believing all the hype, bro. They go into Virginia Tech, Lane Stadium, it's rocking. They drop it 17-10. Well, it just spirals all the way stinking down, right? They finished this season 6-7. Now, this is really where, I'm starting to get that kind of mindset like, whoa, like I'm getting dizzy. Is the room spinning around me? Because how did we go from 7-6, 8-win Orange Bowl trip, almost beating Texas A&M, number 10 ranked in the country, and finishing 6-7, and then getting our asses handed to us by a South Carolina team down to their 4th-string quarterback? He had some wide receiver just absolutely abusing us. And then South Carolina steals all that hype back from North Carolina that we had worked so hard to stinking garner. And it's frustrating. It's frustrating. So then there's some question marks going into 2022, right? You got Jacoby Criswell, Drake May battling it out for the quarterback position. It's given to Drizzy. Carolina starts 9-1. 9-1. And then we're all like, okay. 2021 was a stinking mulligan, bro. We forgive you. Everything is good, right? People start talking about Carolina possibly, backing their way into a national championship appearance, or we'll say the playoff. Like I said, outside shot. And then Carolina stinking loses to Georgia Tech at home. And they finished that season 1-4 in their last 5, including a beatdown in Charlotte at the hands of Clemson. Okay. DJU can't throw the ball. He can't hit anybody. Couldn't hit the, what do they say? The broadside of a barn. He couldn't complete a pass at all. They take him out. They bring in the stinking freshman. Cade Klubnik starts throwing the stinking football around, and Carolina ends up getting embarrassed once again in Charlotte. Then you go out to the Holiday Bowl in San Diego, and you're like, man, they should have won that football game. Of course, the defense can't hold the line at the end. And you're like, we got a lot of guys returning next year, man. Like, maybe as bad as the end of that season was, this Holiday Bowl, maybe it's a ray of sunshine, for the future. And so me personally, looking at the schedule at hand, I'm thinking Carolina's going to be good, man. I picked them to go 11-1 and, rebound, win the ACC. And they started off 6-0, bro. And I felt like a clairvoyant, if you will. And, they started off with decent wins. They didn't think that they'd beat South Carolina. You squeak one by 2 OT at App State. You beat the Miami Hurricanes, 6-0. And this is where things start to become inexcusable. 6-0, home game, struggling UVA team with almost no talent. 1 win coming into Chapel Hill, and you drop that stinking game. Then you follow that up by going out to the ATL, and you drop a Georgia Tech game where you had the lead. And all you had to do was keep feeding O'Marion the football. And once again, it's starting to be this coaching thing. I felt like we were going away from O in the Virginia game. We're going away from, O in the Georgia Tech game. Carolina starts slow against Campbell, ends up blowing them out. Once again, double overtime victory against Duke in Chapel Hill with their 3rd-string quarterback. And then Carolina, just gets absolutely embarrassed out in Raleigh. That was one of the times, man, where I was, let me just say, I've never been ashamed, but I was ashamed of the effort. I was ashamed of the effort, and that all goes back to the coaching staff. And then we get walked by West Virginia inside our own stinking state. There's like 70,000, or it was like 70% of the fans there were stinking West Virginia fans. And I don't blame half the people, man. I don't blame half the people, half of Tar Heel Nation. I don't blame you, because I know it's been frustrating. I know. So here's my issue. One, question we're always asking each other. Why is Carolina losing so many games that they should win? Why? Why do we continue to have Virginias? Why do we continue to lose to Georgia Tech? Teams that we're out recruiting, the talent level is not even stinking close. We have Hall of Fame coaches, NFL coaches. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. It literally does not make any sense. Carolina has averaged the top 20 recruiting class since Mac has been back, especially 2020 to 2022 when he was building all that stinking steam. 4 5-star guys, scheduling visits. They're signing with North Carolina. And here I am. Once again, what were we talking about? First, it was depth. Then it was, hey, man, we're starting to get the talent in. Like I said, 4 and 5 stars on campus. Everybody's believing the hype. Recruits are believing the hype. Starting to build a fence around the state of North Carolina. They're not going to Raleigh anymore. They're coming to Carolina. They want to play for Mac Brown. They want to play for the flagship. Only to have almost none of them become the dominant player that they thought they would be. And Jamil hits it on the nail, man, because a lot of these guys are on the defensive side of the football. The defensive side of the football. That's where we've struggled. In Mac 1.0, we had a great defense, but we couldn't score the damn ball. Well, in Mac 2.0, we can score with anybody, but we can't stop anybody. Why is that? And to have so many studs on paper on that side of the stinking football, how have we struggled so much to do simple things like stop the run? I don't understand it, man. I really do not understand it. That's thumbs up, I guess, for me. When is the defensive line going to live up to its expectations, man? When? Kamen Rucker might be the lowest rated guy out of high school. Yet he's the most polished and successful defensive lineman we have. Why is a 3-star guy on everybody's thinking, NFL, like, hey, this guy could possibly get on a roster, and he's a little bit undersized as far as height's concerned. 6'2", maybe 6'3", good size though, 265, strong. Nobody's debating that about Kamen, and his heart basically covers his entire stinking chest. Love the guy, man. Gosh, if we could get 11 guys with Kamen Rucker's stinking want to, we'd be a badass stinking defense, right? But he's the lowest rated guy on that stinking front 4. My guy Dez, man, 5-star guy. Javari Ritzy, 4-star guy. Travis Shaw, 5-star guy. Did Carolina really miss on all these guys? Or is it a player development issue? Because I just can't imagine, dude. I just cannot imagine for the life of me that all these guys that everybody was so high on, we missed on all of them. It just doesn't make any sense, man. It does not make any sense. I don't believe it. I think there's a player development issue here. And I'm really hoping that Ted Monachino, I'm telling you right now, man, if Monachino cannot fix this thing, who can? Who can? Who's thinking can fix it if that guy can't fix it? We talked about it ad nauseum, man. 2 generational quarterbacks having to play hero ball. And the position group that we've arguably recruited at the highest level has severely underperformed. Why? I don't know, man. I just don't stinking know, man. Why have they continually underperformed? First, it was depth. Then Mac was saying Carolina simply, it was talent behind the starters. What's the excuse now? We're in year 6, man. We're in year 6, and everyone from the freshman players to everyone on the coaching staff is here because of you, coach. Now, I want everybody real quick, okay? I want everybody real quick to put their feelings aside because this is not about the man. I'm talking about the coach, okay? There are no more excuses. None. And you guys know, man, I have tried to make as many excuses as possible. I have tried to kick this can down the street as long as I possibly could, man, looking for any excuse whatsoever to continue my belief that you, coach, could deliver on the promises, right? And there are so many variables in this thing to go over when you start to talk about Carolina winning 8 to 9 games and how that's pretty good around here. When you play a schedule, this is my question to you, Tar Heel Nation. When you play a schedule, okay, consistently where you should be winning at least 10 games with your talent and your coaching level, is 8 to 9 wins really good enough when you're underperforming? The answer is easy, bro. It's a no. So you can say all stinking day long, hey, man, we're back to 8, 9 wins. Yeah, I understand that. But when if I had you playing 12 high school teams and then you try to convince me as a college football program that 8, 9 wins is pretty good around here, no, my friend, it's not. You're underperforming. And, this is just my personal opinion. Carolina has underperformed. Carolina's underperformed. There's a lot of people that think that Carolina last year was an 8, 9 win team. Not against that stinking schedule. Nope. In 2022, Carolina was an 8, 9 win team. Not with that stinking schedule. Absolutely not. No. You can't lose to Georgia Tech and say, we met expectations. No, you did not. No, you did not. You can't lose to Virginia at home, 1-win Virginia at home, and say, we weren't a 10-win team. No, you dropped the ball because there's no way you can convince me that in 10 football games you lose to Virginia more often than you win. No, you dropped the ball. You're underperforming, and that is the stinking issue. Once 100%, Dennis. We're losing to teams that we should be smoking. We should be handing them their ass, dude. And it seems like every time there's a team that we should be handing them their ass, what happens? We end up having one of those stinking moments, those Carolina football moments, when everyone knows you're the more talented team and you drop the stinking ball, bro. I'm tired of that. There's no more excuses. That's the point. When Coach Mac Brown gets on here and he says, hey, I really enjoy doing this. I love being a part of these kids' life. I love, the impact that I make on all these young men. You know what? I respect that, and I love that, Coach. I love that. But that, as far as the business aspect of college football is concerned, for everybody who is, obviously financially involved, time and effort, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, we got, 19 people in here right now, tons of Tar Heel fans all over the stinking country that want this thing to be successful. What it really boils down to at the end of the day is getting your team ready to be successful and winning the games that you should win. And we have far too often lost games that we should have won, period. And it infuriates me, okay? Losing games that we shouldn't infuriates me, and I know it infuriates you. And that's why this year, and I sat, I was having a conversation with my brother today. And, I told him, I said, hey, man, I'm predicting 11 wins. And the question is always like, come on, man. And this is the statement that people make all the time. Carolina's going to lose 1 or 2 games that they shouldn't. That's ridiculous, man, because how many teams in the country, say that? And look, we want to be the best. So you say, oh, how can you compare yourself to look? It doesn't happen to Alabama. It doesn't happen to it doesn't happen to Georgia. It almost never happens to Clemson. Yeah, you can point to the Duke game last year, almost never happens over there. Why does it continually happen to us? But we got a Hall of Fame national championship winning coach. So the point that I'm trying to make is I understand that you enjoy this. And I'm glad that you enjoy your job. I really am. And I think you're a fantastic guy. Love you. Don't know you, but I love you. From all the way over here, where I'm at to where you're at. Love you. But I'm tired of hearing that you're trying to figure things out. We're almost at 40 years, coach. 40 years. We should be perfecting things. We should not be in experimental mode anymore. Hey, I don't understand why we're not finishing. Well, either figure it out or, we need to do some introspect here and start looking in the mirror. I mean, that's just me keeping it a buck with you, man. Either we figure it out or we do some introspect and we do what's best for everyone involved, because there's somebody that can figure this thing out. There's someone that can figure this thing out. It's not rocket science. It's not rocket science, man. And I understand that all these other kids are on stinking scholarship and, they play too. You have some of the best talent in the country, and you're well-known fact that you're one of the best coaches in the country. You have a national name brand, and you continually play, schedules that are not necessarily just off the rocker imposing. And we keep underperforming. And it's unacceptable, man. It's unacceptable. And that's why I told you guys earlier, I'm predicting Carolina to win 11 games, and anything short of that would be a failure. I'm telling you right now, you say, oh, those are lofty expectations. If Carolina loses more than 2 games this year, that is underachieving. You say, why? Because the schedule is terrible. You know what that would mean? You lost it in Tallahassee at Florida State. Okay. I can take that one on the chin, as long as we're competitive. But you lose to NC State for 4 years in a row? Oh, hell no. Absolutely not. That's where I stink and draw the line. We don't lose that game in Chapel Hill. Not stinking happening. Spare me the excuses. Spare me. And we're still a more talented team. Still a more talented team on paper than that team over there in Raleigh. So look, my expectations are super high. You say, we don't care. Well, that's fine. That's fine. But I refuse to subject myself to an 8-win season and be happy with it when that would consist of you losing to 2 or 3 teams that you should not lose. And then you say, it's pretty good around here. No. If you were playing in the SEC West, maybe. I got it. You're not. You're playing in the ACC. And if you don't stink and go 8-0 leading up to the Florida State game, you have underperformed. Look, man, I'm not being unreasonable. I do not feel like I'm being unreasonable in the slightest, given all the variables put in place. I'm not being unreasonable. My expectations are exactly where they should be in year 6 of this Mac Brown era 2.0 and the talent that's on this roster with the schedule in place. I can't say that enough, man. I'm really trying to just like embed that in your heads, Tar Heel Nation, because there's a reason, and I get it. It's politics. There's a reason why you don't just come out and say, hey, yeah, we should win 10 games or it's a failure, because you don't want to set the stinking bar there. But that is where the bar is. The bar is 10 wins, no less, or bust, man. or stinking bust. I don't care if we're bringing in a new quarterback. I don't care if the generational quarterbacks are gone. I don't care. I don't care. 10 or bust. Because if you don't win 10 football games with that stinking schedule and this talent, you have underperformed. I love you. I respect you. But from a pure football perspective, stop underachieving and then telling us to be happy about it. Am I wrong? Am I being unreasonable? Am I being unreasonable, guys? I don't think that I am. I don't think that I am. It's not like we're, North Dakota State. It's the University of North Carolina. And I think I've laid out pretty clearly all the reasons why we should be successful. I mean, what do you guys think, man? What do you guys think? Kurt says, and given this situation of knowing we have to perform, the first game of the year on the road at Minnesota is quite possibly the most important game in a long time for many reasons. Yeah, bro, 100%. 100%, man. That's where you stinking set the standard right there. Go into Big Ten country on the road, probably a sold-out crowd. They're thinking they're going to be better now. Max Brosmer comes over, which, speaking of that, I got to start working on the Minnesota-North Carolina preview. But that's where you stinking start, man. That's when you stinking start and you get everybody back on the ship. And I really believe that this team can do it, and I think talent-wise, they should still go in there and they should handle business. I know this is going to be a tough game, and I'm excited about it. But Carolina is the better team. And, you want to get Tar Heel Nation kind of like maybe kind of like looking back towards you, because I feel like some of the hype is down, man. I mean, I've even noticed it just on the YouTube channel. Now, maybe it's because I'm just not entertaining and I suck, but on the flip side of that, I just feel like even on other sites, you're seeing less and less Tar Heels, looking forward to the season. And I really think that they should be excited about the possibilities. They should be excited about what should transpire this year with all the things that I've talked about. Jamil said, not a lot of talk coming from camp as in previous years. I think the perfect storm is forming. Bro, we're on the same page. We are on the same stinking page, man. Like, maybe there is a different change right here. Maybe maybe they are being quiet, from behind the scenes so as to kind of fly under the stinking radar, dude. Maybe. Kurt says we have to deserve hype before we should expect it. 100%, man. 100 stinking %. Like I said, if anybody wants to call in, man, I don't know if it's going to work. Call in show 919-590-3514. Call your boy and tell me what you think, quarterback situation or the coaching player development issues, man. But, once again, man, I really believe that we should be excited about this season, man. And I even think that there's like I said, the lowering of expectations or, maybe not trying to get people excited. It could be one of two things. Either one, you're just trying to keep a low bar to where you can say, well, we had quarterback issues and, we're rolling in a new DC and, I don't know, name this thinking excuse. Or you could be saying, you know what? Nobody wants to talk about us. And in the last couple of years, we were on everybody's stinking hype. Everybody was on the hype train, and maybe it's good if we just put our stinking head down and go to work. I hope that's the case, man. I hope that's the case. And I'm more inclined to believe that that is the case. Change your strategy. Change your strategy, man. And get ready, bro. Aside from Minnesota, aside from the 3 games out after Minnesota, I think we're in for an exciting season as in, all these games that we're playing, they're probably going to be closer games. because I have my doubts of whether the offense will be as explosive, but I believe the defense is going to be much improved. I really do. I'm expecting them to be much improved. I'm expecting to be able to lean a little bit more on the defense, especially with the talent that's actually over there, man. So we should be excited about what Carolina can do, especially if they start the season with a W out of Minnesota, even if it's a close W. Just find a way to stink and win. That's it. Just win. Win, baby, win. That's all we need to do. I don't even care this year how we win. Just win. Win. You know what I mean? Yeah. Defense wins championships, 100%, Jamil. And if we had a defense over the course of the past 3 years, 4 years, who the hell knows, what we'd be talking about Carolina football, man. Who knows? Who stinking knows? Could have possibly even been in a playoff. I'm not saying we would have won a national championship, but I still believe in 2022, if DJU doesn't get taken out of that stinking game, Carolina wins the ACC championship. Now they're not going to play in the playoff, obviously, because they blew, the Georgia Tech game, and they, all the different reasons why, that game wouldn't have necessarily mattered in the grand scheme of things. But if they would have handled business before then, talking about an 11-1 team, ACC champions, could have been the 4 seed if you just had a defense. If you just had a stinking defense, man. And, that's what it boils down to. I'm really hoping that Jeff Collins can change the culture over there. And, once again, Monachino, with that defensive front, if they can generate some stinking pressure outside of Kaman, bro. Bo Atkinson is going to be that dude. Bo is going to be that dude. He might even stink and take some snaps from Dez if Dez, can't find a way to be a little bit more productive. But then you got 2 really tough guys coming off the edge, man. And if that interior defensive line can hold up just a little bit, bro, just a stinking little bit, then, you're looking pretty good. You're looking pretty good. Hold on. The Hill brothers are calling. What's up, bro? Are you calling the call-in show? I don't know if this is going to work or not. Oh, man. Talk to me, Goose. Hold on. Let me put you on speakerphone. If you guys don't know, this is Nathan from the Hill brothers. Go and like and subscribe to this channel, brother. They do great things, man. What do you got, bro?
I appreciate it. Hey, you brought up earlier about Mac constantly telling us 8-9 wins or 8-7-8 wins. That's good around here, right? You said that somebody could figure it out if he can't do it. Well, let me pitch something to you. This is kind of my thinking. Do you think that maybe Mac is the only person to be able to figure it out? Because if you look right up to, 8 miles up the road in Durham with Mike Elko, it looks like he was turning the Duke program around. And then the second the big job offer hit, he left. With Mac loving Carolina the way that he does, do you think he might be the best one to be able to try and establish a winning, maybe even championship caliber culture, and then maybe that attracts the eyes of others?
That's a good question, man. I mean, honestly, Nathan, it's a great question. And what I would say is I bought into that, thinking that, because I know when Mac was originally hired, the question was, who else are they going to hire? I mean, it was kind of like a blessing in disguise in that we got Mac Brown. He's won a national championship, and he's going to come back and he's going to complete the task that he left on the table when he left for Texas. But then we're coming into year 6. Let's just say that with that schedule in place and the talent that's on this roster, the whole defensive line is gone, right? Then you got, guys in the secondary are gone, and we're kind of maybe not in rebuild mode, but it's not as dominating of talent level as we've had, especially this year. How long how long do we put up with underachieving? Because it's one thing if you're holding the line and let's say that, you know, you got 9 games on the schedule where you should win and 3 that you should lose, and you're winning those 9 games and you're like, hey, man, we were competitive in the other 3. It's a talent issue. We're going to try to recruit better. But when you consistently year in and year out are losing the teams, not only that you're equal to, but that you were drastically more talented than, like, how many times can you tell me maybe next year we're going to try to figure this thing out? I don't know, man. I mean, you would think that it's Mac. You like, I want to believe. I want to believe from the bottom of my heart, you know. And what are the chances that you get another national championship winning coach with the pedigree of a Mac Brown? Not, like 0 to come to UNC. 0. He's a legend. And I love him for everything that he's done. But like, how long do we let the rope out, man? You know what I'm saying? Before we have to reel it back in and say, you know what, man, I love you, but we're going to have to go in a different direction. I don't know.
Yeah, I think this year's that year for me. I'm not gonna lie, this year's that year for me. And we know we did a season predictor. 11-1 is what we both picked, and
Yep.
Alan's way more pessimistic than I am.
Yep.
I'm way more of the optimist. I picked 12-0 last year. That tells you how crazy I am.
Yeah, 12-0. Yeah.
Yeah. So highly let down. But no, I 100% agree with you. I think that you gotta pull the rope at some point in time. As much as you may love the guy, it's time to pull that rope. If all else fails this year, I think that's when you have to make the move, because you can't go through all the talent that we have and just keep coming up short. But let me ask you another question.
Yeah, talk to me, man.
With the NIL situation, Carolina bringing every bit of NIL money together into Carolina NIL, right? Do you think that's going to help out the football team a little bit more? Because the question has been, and Max talked about it, hey, NIL situation, we need money. We got donor fatigue. Everybody being, every donor being called up 30 different times for all of our sports. Hey, can you give me some? We know Carolina basketball is the pride and joy of what we do. Do you think with this Carolina NIL deal now, with everything and all resources being pulled together, will that help Carolina football?
So I think that, with the limited knowledge that I have about the NIL, and, obviously I understand that they're bringing everything under one umbrella to try to kind of, I guess, what's the word I'm looking for? Put some structure to this thing. I mean, I don't understand how it could do anything but benefit them in that, now they have this one pool that they can draw from, and then they can start divvying up money to where specifically it needs to go. I don't really know too much about it in the sense that the difference in, because I know that Mac has talked about, for instance, when I donate to the University of North Carolina, which I have, I do it monthly. I want my money to go to football and basketball. Now, I don't know if that's changed or anything. Some of you may know more about the NIL situation than I do. But, I have specific sports that I'm interested in. Now, I love the University of North Carolina, but from a sports perspective, I care about football and basketball. And a lot of I care about Carolina football even more than basketball. And I know that's like taboo to a lot of Tar Heels, but
I'm right. I'm crazy with you, brother.
Yeah. So I want Carolina football to be stinking great, but I can't imagine that it would do anything but help them. I'm guessing that the structure, to where they can, it's just like balancing a checkbook or,
right.
setting a budget. There's a name to every dollar, right? I'm imagining that's something that they're being able to put into place now with everything under the same umbrella. But like I said, I'm kind of speaking in the blind here, out in the dark, because I'm not very familiar with the NIL situation. Some of you may know more than you may even know more than me about that, bro.
Yeah, the little bit of stuff that I know, I do believe through what I've heard, and literally this has just been through coaches' interviews talking about how whenever you do donate, you can actually designate and put in like a special comment section. Hey, I would like this to go here, there, whatever
Right.
the case may be. So
Right.
again, don't quote me on that either. I believe that's what I've been hearing. But yeah, same thing. But hey, man, you keep knocking it out the park, man. You have a great night and go Heels, baby.
Hey, I appreciate you, brother. Go Heels, man.
Yes, sir. Looking forward to linking up soon.
All right, brother. All right, later.
Later.
Hey, that's Nathan from the Hill Brothers, man. If you guys haven't already, do me a favor, man. Go over to his channel, the Hill Brothers, and like, share, and subscribe to those guys' channel, man. Good friends. Nathan is a stinking class act, man. He's been very gracious to me, and I'm looking forward to hanging out with them. We'll probably do something during the Wake Forest game. That's what we're trying to schedule because we're both actually going to be there, me, Nathan, and Alan from the Hill Brothers, and that'll be a good time, man. But, you know, tell me what you think, man. Jamil said if we had the money, I guess probably all in the spot where it needed to be, then Concepcion wouldn't have went to state. It's very, very possible. It's very stinking possible. And he abused us last year. Now, a lot of that I think has to do with coaching once again, because, you know, and I caught some heat from this from one of the parents, the guy that they kept putting over his head. You know, let's just say that we'll be politically correct here. He should not have been at that position. The transition over there was admirable, but it did not help the football team for him to be covering the best receiver on NC State's stinking roster. But I digress on that, man. That's once again a coaching issue, player development. And, you know, it's just one of those things where it gets frustrating as a Tar Heel. So, I mean, Nathan brought up some great questions, man. He brought up some great questions. Is Mac the last hope? Is Mac the last hope? I don't know. I mean, you say, Russ, if it's not Mac, then give me a solution. I don't stinking know, bro. I really don't know. I mean, you know, some of you may differ from what I loved Butch Davis. I loved the Butch Davis hire. Now, I'm not talking about all the crap that went on behind the scenes and the stuff that got us in trouble and stuff like that. Obviously, I hate that because it put a huge, dark spot in the history of Carolina football. But, you know, I love the culture that he instilled over there, man. That was a stinking hard-hitting defense. Probably the last time that we had that type of stinking defense. And so, you know, a guy like a Butch Davis, I don't know. I'm hoping it's Mac, man. I'm hoping it's stinking Mac. I'm hoping it's just taking a little bit longer than we've wanted. But obviously we still know, man, that, you know, how much longer is he going to coach? I don't know. Even if it's this year, there's going to have to be somebody in the stinking in the waiting, you know, that's going to take the reins. Hopefully Matt gets it to where he envisioned it would be. Hopefully he completes that unfinished business. You know, I would say, you know, theoretically, and this may be, wishful thinking, I don't know, but I would say the completion of the task at hand would be to get Carolina, you know, one of those 12 playoff spots, man. You know, I think that would really put us on the map as a viable place where kids can go and say, you know what, I can go to that school. It's a great brand. You know, Kenan Stadium is beautiful. Chapel Hill is beautiful. The people in North Carolina are great. I can stay home or I can go there and I can compete and I can win. That's what that would be the completion, you know, is to instill that into the heart of every stinking high school football player, man. Every stinking high school football player. Kurt says, Coach Brown is our only chance. Seriously. You may be right, man. You may be right. And you know what? If he's the guy, bro, if he's the guy, then he's the guy. But then on the other side, you see Garrett, you know, I disagree. Mac is past his time. We need young blood. There's something about a young stinking stud, you know, that's got something to prove. Mac doesn't have anything to prove anymore, man. If anything, we're kind of getting in this era, you know, of saving face. What do y'all think about that? You know, what do you think about that? Jamil says we need younger blood with a different coaching philosophy. It's very possible, man. Kurt says no other super quality coach is going to come here. Yeah, man. I mean, I get it. But remember, when Matt came initially, we had some struggles in the first couple of years. But what did he end up blossoming into? Comes over from App State, coaches at Carolina, couple of tough years, bro, and then he stinking breaks through. In the mid-90s, bro, North Carolina was, for a couple of years straight, man, a top 10 football team. A place where people would come and play football. You know, he kept Julius Peppers in state, you know. And, look, and here's one more thing. And this is kind of off topic. This is kind of off topic a little bit. I've heard people talk about, I was listening to a show earlier that was saying North Carolina was a little bit different. It's a talk show, saying that North Carolina in and of itself does not have the talent to be self-sustaining in the success. And the reason is because you have North Carolina, NC State, Wake Forest, Duke. Well, first of all, the top talent's not going to Wake Forest or Duke, okay? They're going to North Carolina or NC State, period. Maybe you can convince me about a stinking App State, okay? But you're either going to UNC or NC State if you're one of the top football players in the state of North Carolina. But then when people say North Carolina doesn't have enough talent, if I'm not mistaken, North Carolina was number 7 in the country in the amount of 4- and 5-star athletes that were here. People are coming into North Carolina and poaching the talent. I understand that. Mac Brown has done a better job, Dave Doran too, of putting a fence around some of the better talent. Every once in a while, people still come in here and stinking, jack things up. I get it. But, are we Texas? No. Texas football in and of itself, they got talent everywhere. Are we the state of Florida? No. You can stay inside the state of Florida and field a really good stinking football team. Georgia, the same way. But if you look at Alabama, okay, Alabama is not a state that just, puts out a ridiculous amount of 5-star and 4-star talent. But Auburn is usually good. Maybe not necessarily recently. And Alabama just went through one of the greatest stinking decade and a halves of any college football team in the history of the country. Pennsylvania doesn't necessarily just throw out, Penn State is a good football team. Ohio, I'd have to look it up, but I don't think that Ohio football is like, maybe they care, but I mean, are they just putting out 4- and 5-star guys? No, man. No. So North Carolina has plenty enough talent. And North Carolina's constantly getting guys to come in from out of state too. So I want to hear this, North Carolina's a little bit different because you got North Carolina and NC State. Come on, man. It don't even make any sense. Florida's got Florida, Florida State, and Miami. Okay? And UCF is bringing in some talent. Texas has got Texas, Texas A&M, Texas Tech. Houston is now in the stinking Big 12. And yes, Texas has a ton of stinking athletes. I get it, okay? Virginia Tech, James Madison, laugh out loud, all right? But the point is that all these states are like that, all right? All these states have multiple stinking teams, and they do just fine. Ours is it's not a talent thing, man. It's coaching and getting the buy-in, bro. It's coaching and getting the buy-in, period. Tennessee just got the number 1 offensive tackle out of North Carolina. And if we would have done what we needed to do, Jamil, in the previous couple of years, I guarantee you, well, I won't guarantee you because obviously money plays a role in this thing now. But we would have had a better opportunity of getting that young man to stay here and play for the flagship. Curtin says Mac has name recognition, structure, contacts, wisdom, a ring. Assistant coaches want to coach with him. He can recruit and does it the right way. That's my reasoning to say he has to be the guy now. Out of everything you said, brother, the one thing that I agree with is now. Now. It's got to be now. It's got to be now. If not now, then when? Win. Also, I think our conditioning needs changed. Always lose steam at the end of the year. Yeah, Garrett. A lot of that has to do, obviously, with just overplaying players. Guys not coming off the field, not trusting the depth behind them, or players not proving that they can go out there and compete. But you would think that in year 6, everybody that you've recruited is because you recruited them here. The character issues and the football acumen, those are all directly correlated to you as the head coach, as the individual that's training these young men to be football players, man. Kurt says, if it ain't Mac, man, we go back to square one. And then Garrett says NC State didn't have that problem. Like I said, bro, we're starting to run out of excuses. But then how many times do we say maybe next year? We'll give you a break, coach. Maybe we'll get it done next year. I'm telling you, man, this team has so many upperclassmen on it right now that are in key positions that if it's not this year, bro, when is it going to be? When is it going to be? Because I'm still not persuaded that Carolina their ceiling is, well, you're just a program that can only win 8 or 9 games. I just don't see that, and I don't think that I'm being unreasonable at all, man. I don't think that I'm being unreasonable at all. Nick says, we don't at 1 point, but our problem is we don't make plays in tough situations. State, unfortunately, does more with less. The NC State roster, even this year, they're a top 25 team, preseason top 25. That roster is not as good as North Carolina's roster on paper. It's not. So if North Carolina's talent is better, okay, and North Carolina has a Hall of Fame national championship winning coach, and they don't, and North Carolina is playing at home and they have to come to our house, what excuse could you possibly give me of why UNC doesn't beat the Wolfpack this year? None. No excuse would be acceptable. I don't care who's injured. I don't care what excuse you can come up with. There's no excuse because you are the better team and you're supposed to be the better coach team and you're at your house. There's no excuse. Can't lose the state 4 years in a row with more talent and a better coach. Can't do it, man. Heart. That's your answer. Heart, heart, heart. You know where heart comes from? Obviously, it's the character of the kids that are being recruited, but it's also, the culture. And we talked about it on one of the other shows. Culture at UNC, unfortunately, is it's lackluster. It's stinking lackluster, man. There's no other way to put it. It's lackluster. You know how I know? Because we've had South Carolina 3 years ago in the bowl game where Carolina just looked terrible. We've had, the Virginia game. That's heart. Georgia Tech lead, blowing it at the end. That's heart. Georgia Tech the first time. That's heart. How about NC State? Let me tell you something. You go into stinking Raleigh and you give 50% effort. You know what that is? Against your rival, that's stinking heart. Unacceptable. Unstinking acceptable. Heart, a will to win. Sometimes I wonder if you can teach that, man. And that's the difference between an athlete and a football player. And I told you guys 100 times, give me a football player all day, man. You give me a stinking football player with a little athleticism, I will take him all day over an athlete with a little bit of football player in him. And maybe, Carolina dropped down to number 32 in the recruiting, class this year. Maybe they're actually getting more football players. You got a guy like Aiden Banfield, 3-star freshman, who's getting stinking snaps. Holy cow, bro. Maybe that's because he's a little bit of football. He's a lot of football player, maybe a little bit of athlete, as opposed to, a 5-star who's a junior, senior, and he hasn't even seen the field yet. He's not even in the 2 deep. You know what that is? That's a stinking athlete who's just a little bit of football player. That's the whole stinking thing, man. Whole stinking thing. I've been saying these things for years. Hard, 100%, Kurt. And that's on the coaching staff to, 1, recruit kids, like he said, that want to be here, that have heart. And two, it's the character of the kids. I don't know why these balloons are going on. I did not do a stinking balloon thing. But anyway, it's the kids. You got to recruit kids that want to play stinking football, man. Nick says, y'all sound tough in offense a little bit, but defense gets it done. Without that, you won't get far in winning. Well, I mean, we've seen that. We've seen that. 2 generational quarterbacks, really good offenses. Guess what? 8-9 wins. 8-9 wins. Gene says, I should have realized we were going to lose last year when Max said, I don't wake up every morning hating NC State. Gene, bro, I know you've heard me say this before. When I tell you that I literally I'm not going to turn red because the only red that I love is that red right there in the stinking flag. I know you guys can't see my stinking. That's it. That's the only red that I can stinking tolerate. I don't stinking turn red, bro. But let me tell you something. When he said that, if it wasn't Mac Brown, I would say fire him immediately. Fire him immediately. Because you cannot coach at the University of North Carolina and say you don't wake up hating NC State, or, losing to State doesn't stink and do anything for you. Bro, you're in the wrong seat, buddy. You're in the wrong seat. Because I'm telling you right now, as a stinking football diehard, listen, and I love this. I wouldn't have it any other way. Football season, okay? My Super Bowl is North Carolina, NC State. It is the one game that I look forward to every single year. I love it. I would rather play NC State than the number 1 team in the country in Chapel Hill. I love playing State. People don't want to give them any credence in that. That's what it is, man. People hate State so much that they don't want to just give them the satisfaction of understanding that, you know what? We do hate you. We do. And you know what? That's a good thing. It's good. It's good. I hate them. Obviously, we're being reasonable here. In the scope of, they are my team's rival in football. That's it. That's it, bro. I despise them, and it's a good thing. It's the game that I want to win. There's no game that I want to win more than the State game, period. Not Duke, not in basketball. Look, I love beating Duke. We should beat Duke every stinking year. Let's get real, okay? Everybody trying to make this Duke Carolina thing on the football field. It's ridiculous that we're in so many close games with them. The talent gap is just astronomical. It's North Carolina, NC State on the football field. And, I don't understand how anybody can think anything different, but people do. People stinking do. Said Max should have a talk with Roy. Have Roy talk to the football team 100%. Maybe Roy Gene should talk to Mac. I'm wondering if he didn't immediately get a stinking ring, on the phone, like, hey, what is this talk about? The State game doesn't do anything for you, or you don't lose sleep. Like, what? I don't understand. I'm confused. Did I get that soundbite mixed up? Like, what's going on here? Yeah, Nick says Carolina's our most hated rival. Yeah, bro, I don't understand how that's not, understood for everybody, right? Carolina, NC State, we don't like each other. Why? Because we're the 2 best football programs in the state, period. When it's constantly jockeying back and forth for whoever's got, the better program. And, you guys know how I feel about that. North Carolina should be the flagship. It's, Nick may disagree, but I think if we're all being realistic, Carolina has, and this is the issue, Carolina once again does less with more. They have everything that they could possibly want to be successful, even in the football program. And we're constantly doing less with more. And that's the frustrating thing for Tar Heel Nation. So, in the last couple of minutes that we have here, man, any final thoughts on the quarterback situation? What do you guys think, man? Are people starting to be sold on Max Johnson? Because I feel like there's more and more people that are kind of coming over to that side, and they're quoting, hey, bigger dude. They're quoting the experience. That's one that I'm hearing a lot is, hey, man, I've kind of thought about this. And obviously Max Johnson is a more experienced guy. I feel more comfortable with him going into Minnesota week 1. I mean, is that kind of like starting to become, the majority opinion with Tar Heel Nation? Because, I mean, I've been feeling that way for a while. I kind of always thought that would be the case, even when we were kind of in the earlier stages of the season, discussing who was going to take the reins of that offense. I always figured that it was going to be Max Johnson at first, for a plethora of stinking reasons, man. That was just my stinking understanding of how things would unfold, that it would be Max Johnson's to stinking lose, and he can lose the job. You come over here, bro, and don't perform, you could definitely lose the job to Connor. But I just believe that right now, from the outside looking in, it only makes sense that Max would come over here, start with all of his experience, bigger guy, and he's not going to be playing in the SEC. So, we can say what we want. The SEC West is one of the best divisions in college football, and he showed a little bit of success over there doing that. Kip said he's rolling with Max, man. I agree, bro. 100%, man. I agree. I think he's the guy to lead the troops into Minneapolis on August 29th. Any final thoughts on the coaching staff? And if the Hill brothers are in here, man, hey, I appreciate you calling in, Nathan. I really do, man. I wanted to see if that thing would work. It did not work how I anticipated it working. But I guess everybody can kind of hear from the phone. So, maybe that's just what we'll do. So when we have the call-in show for future dates, hey, man, 919-590-3514. Don't be afraid to call in, man. Trust me, it'll be even more nervous for me because you guys see me and I can make an absolute stinking fool of myself. But we'll have a good time nonetheless, man. And I appreciate everybody hanging out, man. I know it's thinking 10:30 on a Sunday night. Most people got to go to work. I got to go to work in the morning. And, but wanted to come in here and talk about the quarterback situation and the coaching job. So final thoughts. Your boy thinks that it's Max's to lose, just like Kurt. He says, win 10 games and lose to State, or win 8 games and beat State. I take the latter. 100%, bro. 100%, man. Give me 8 dubs and a stinking NC State win all stinking day. You know why? Because we're sane. Like Gene quoted Roy, I would rather beat State than eat. 100%, bro. Remove my meals from me if we can just beat those guys over in stinking Raleigh. 100%, man. 100%. And then the coaching staff. I'm done with the excuses. I'm done. I love you, Mac. I love you, Coach. And I am so grateful for you putting Carolina on the stinking, literally, man, like for the most part, you've put Carolina on the map. In your first stint and in your second stint, you have made us in the conversation again. But we know, and Coach, that North Carolina is capable of more than that. And, because we think so highly of you, we can't help but have our expectations higher than just the average man, because we do expect a man of your caliber, and everything that's at your disposal. We expect great things, and that's because we respect you so much. And, unfortunately, if you can't deliver, then, we love you. But me personally, maybe it is time that we look for a young blood that can maybe instill a little bit more fire and passion into the program if it's not you. That's just my personal perception, man. But you guys know 0-12, 12-0, bro. I'm down. Hey, I'm there, Kip. I'm behind them, bro. I mean, I'm behind them. Like I said, man, if Carolina goes 0-12, your boy will be right here. Now, I might be, and excuse my French, your boy might be bitching. I'm not saying I'm going to be happy about it. Hell, I'm bitching when we stinking win 8-9 football games. But you best believe, man, this color, I bleed it. And I'm not going anywhere. And whoever my coach is, I got his back. But, you do also have to stink and call a spade, man. And sometimes it's just better if you move on. Sometimes you got to move on from people you love. People do it every stinking day. It's not fun. It's not pleasurable. But that's the life that we stink and live. So, Gene said I made it through the Nathan Elliott years. Me and you both, brother. Swing pass after swing pass, knowing the inevitable outcome was to get your ass stomped. And there was almost nothing we could do about it. You know what? I tuned in every Saturday. So right there with you, brother. Right there with you, Gene. So anyway, been a good one, man. I appreciate everybody coming and hanging out. Like I said, I apologize for this thing kind of bouncing around. Work gets in the way. I just got back from Orlando. So, and then I worked a little bit earlier before this. So just schedule was crazy, man. So I appreciate you guys being flexible with me. And I hope that, you guys make this a part of your week, man. We're 10 days away, guys, from football stinking season. 10 stinking days from football season, man. And I got to start working on the Minnesota, North Carolina previews. So make sure you guys tune into that. Please do me a favor, man. Share this with your friends. Let them know that your boy Russ is here. The Tar Heel Huddle is here, man. And this thing will continue to stink and grow as the years go by. So I love you guys, man. I appreciate you stinking being here. And I can't stink and wait. Love talking Carolina football with you guys. And we'll catch you guys on the next one, man. Love you, Tar Heel Nation. Y'all have a great stinking night.